review of Lavender.ai. If you're unfamiliar or haven't heard of Lavender, they claim to be an AI email coach, whether that's crafting a brand new email from scratch or helping improve a previously written email. Lavender AI hopes to plug in and improve both of those use cases. So, in case you're unfamiliar, I run a website called salepeer.com, SALEPIER.com, where we collect, aggregate, and review the coolest and newest sales tools coming out. So, definitely take a look if you're in the hunt for a new sales tool for yourself, for your organization. So, with that said, we are looking at the main dashboard of Lavender, and I'm going to do a couple of things in this review. Let me walk through this dashboard and let's take a look at three separate use cases. How well does Lavender write a brand new email from scratch? How effectively does it improve a previously written email? And we'll take a look at the demo email that they've already written for us, as well as an email that I've written myself, and we'll see how effective or ineffective it is. But basically, your run-of-the-mill dashboard. The biggest thing I want to call out here is the section within settings. This is where you add in your own information and your own personalization to help the AI write emails from your perspective. So it asks for job title, company, product category, company website, and description. I'm right now using fictional information for the purposes of this review and this demo. I'm going to claim that I am the founder of a company called Easy Payroll, where we provide payroll software for small businesses. As for the rest of the sections within this dashboard, I kind of find them to be a little bit redundant. Let me show you what I mean. So, first is you have kind of a cross section of your email insights. What are the top suggestions? What KPIs? How many you've sent? What's the open rates, reply rates, so on and so forth. If you're within an organization, you can make this kind of gamified and have a leaderboard where you can see which employees, which teammates, which team members are writing good emails according to Lavender. Again, I want to caveat according to Lavender across any certain time range. And then same goes for the coaching and the kind of dashboard section. Again, a lot of this needs to be populated once you kind of send more emails, but it shows you email scores, sentiments, cold email activity, which emails need work, which ones are ready, which ones are in between both of those and are almost there. So just different aggregation of insights you can use to vet out your email effectiveness, either for yourself as an individual or for your team if you're a manager that's managing a sales team. So let's switch over to my email inbox, and I'm going to minimize this and X out of this. So first case we're looking at is writing a brand new email. Important thing to clarify is Lavender.ai is not a software you're downloading locally on your device or your laptop. It's a Chrome extension. You go to the Google Chrome store and add it in as an extension. So and it integrates with your Google inbox or Gmail inbox. So with that said, we are going to click on this envelope icon at the top right, and it's going to give us this prompt where it says, insert a few bullet points and Lavender.ai will start writing your email. So I'm going to, put myself as a recipient, and let's add in 3 bullet points I would use to write an email. Let's call this an initial cold email outreach email. So I'm going to say, hey, the economy is booming and hiring is increasing. How are you thinking about payroll solutions for your organization? So those are going to be my 3 bullet points. I think you can add more. I wonder if there's an upper limit to how many you can input. But before I hit start, I do want to call out that there's a toggle where you can increase how sensitive or how creative the AI is. So that's the one lever you have at your disposal, but I'm going to X out of that for now. We'll leave it at 70, which is the standard. And when you hit start, you have two options. You can write a general email or a cold email. My interpretation of this is a cold email is an email you're writing to someone for the first time, they don't know you, and Lavender AI will craft an email in that voice. Otherwise, it crafts it in a general email voice. So let's hit start here. All right, it seems a little bit, oh, there we go, cold email. And it's gonna take a few seconds to craft this. And let's see what it says. Hello, Winston. With the economy booming and hiring on the rise, have you given any thought to how your organization will manage payroll? Easy Payroll is a great solution for small businesses. Our software is easy to use and helps businesses save time and money. For more information, please visit our website, easypayroll.com. So, couple of thoughts here. I think number one is that it literally took the first three bullet points I provided it and just combined it into one sentence, almost verbatim. And the rest, this is coming from the information we supplied it in the sections or the settings section. So, not rocket science here. I am a little bit underwhelmed by the email it produced just because it sounds like it just literally took the information we provided it and just verbatim stitched it together. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more creative. Let's see what it does when it's 100. And let's see how creative or uncreative it potentially is. So, hi Winston, the economy is booming and hiring is increasing. How are you thinking about payroll solutions for your organization? Easy Payroll provides software for small businesses to manage their payroll. Our solution is easy to use and affordable. URL is Easy Payroll. I think Easy Payroll. So I'm not going to read all of this. Again, I don't want to say it's super creative. It's definitely longer and it added more filler, I would say. But I don't know if I would call this quote unquote more creative. Let's do one last attempt and let's make it as uncreative as possible. Let's see what it does. Yeah, to be completely honest, I'm not really seeing that drastic of a difference or any difference at all as we change the creativity slider. I wonder if it's, the bullets I provided and that's what's potentially restricting it to be as uncreative as it currently is. Maybe I provided too much detail. Maybe I should have, provided more open-ended bullet points, but definitely something to consider. Let's also take a look at, I'm gonna change it back to 70. Let's take a look at what a general email looks like and how it contrasts to a cold email. This is literally just one sentence. It took the three bullet points and stitched it together in one singular sentence. So I'm not really sure how it's distinguishing or differentiating a cold email from a general email. But again, this could entirely just be dependent on the bullet points that I provided it. So, some food for thought there in terms of crafting a new email. Of course, you can use something like ChatGPT or any sort of LLM to generate an email for you. The question is, what information are you going to input? Are you trusting a third party platform with sensitive information about yourself? But just some food for thought here. So that's use case number one, crafting a brand new email from scratch. So let's toggle over to the demo email that they provided and let's explore use case number two, which is improving an existing email. So this is an email that's pre-written. It's a template that they show you as you onboard onto Lavender. You're writing to a guy named Kyle at clary.com. And this looks like it's a demo scheduling email, an outreach email to potentially get some demos on the books. So what we're going to do here is, again, we're going to click on this right here, this gear icon, and we have one of four sections. So the very first one is the personalization assistant. So if you go and click on this section, basically, as you input a user's email address, you have an additional view and perspective into details about the background if you're trying to manually personalize and tailor this email to their background. This is a section you can use. So there's 6 sections, and I'll tell you which ones are useful and not useful in my opinion. And important thing too is that you get insight into this person as an individual as well as the company that they're a part of. So something to think about here. So when you look at the about section, you can see a self-written about kind of blurb. Second, recent activities. So, this is contingent on having a calendar connected if you've met with them or engaged with them recently. Social media, again, I think it takes into account their public social media profiles that you can pull from. Personality, it claims to give you a read on what their personality is like, what you should be doing, and how you should be communicating and engaging with them, or how you shouldn't. And then where they've worked in the past, and some notes you can add in for future reference. So from what I can tell, this is purely just pulling in all this information from LinkedIn. So whatever information is visible on their LinkedIn, it's just going to aggregate that for you. That's where the about and the work history is coming from. Um, Quite frankly, the personality is pretty useless in my opinion. I've inputted my own personal email here and see what sort of personality it gave me, but I wouldn't say it's very accurate. I inputted some of my friends, and again, not very accurate. It takes whatever information, like I said, is available on their LinkedIn profile and does some sort of sentiment analysis to kind of get a read of what kind of a person there is. But honestly, I don't really find this to be very useful. So nothing groundbreaking here. Obviously, the quality of the information is going to be contingent on the quality of information and the accuracy of information available on their LinkedIn profile. So that is a prerequisite. Again, if you are reaching out to someone who is a little bit more private, doesn't have a whole lot of information on their LinkedIn, I don't think this is going to be as helpful for you, but just something to think about. Um, if the question is, hey, why can't I just go to their LinkedIn and take a look? You can absolutely do that. It's just a matter of switching between tabs. Here you have everything in one place. That just makes it easier as you write an email. So that's section number one. That's the personalization assistant. Now let's take a look at section number two, which is the email coach. So this is taking your email and identifying areas of opportunity and areas for improvement. So the first thing you can see here is a score. It's rating your email on a scale of 1 through 100 and assigning it a letter grade as well. You'll see a writing time. So this is how long it took to write your email. It didn't take 44 minutes. I've just had this up for 44 minutes. And then this is an estimate of how long it could potentially take to read the email. Again, I think this is helpful for you to kind of gauge, is my email becoming too lengthy, too wordy? I think typically recipients with a credit inbox don't spend more than a few seconds reading and kind of glancing through their email. So an additional metric to keep in mind as you write the email. Here, they've identified some opportunities to improve your score up here. So if you are to shorten the length of the email, you can bump this up to a 91. Shorten the sentence structures, again, 1.6, and it gives you different opportunities to bump up the score here. And then it has some areas or opportunities to tangibly improve your sentences. So for example, if I click on this, long sentences, when I click on this, it highlights the emails that are flagged for having long sentences, and you can hover over this or any of these and take a look at some of the suggestions that they have. So if we look at, the second email here, it provides, I'm not sure why it's out of order, but 1, 2, 3 different variations of the sentence. And when you click on it, it swaps it out and hopefully should reconcile that area of improvement. It's not doing it right now. Let's try to ask a question. So this one says this email contains 0 questions. Let's try and change this from a period to a question mark. And let's see if that goes away. We'll give it a second or two. And it looks like it did go away and it bumped up the score. And now it's at an A. So it's a way to dynamically improve your emails, again, according to their standards. And I do think when you're writing an email, it's not only important to know what you're not doing well, but also what you are doing well, so you continue to do more of it. So It tells you, hey, you have a clear subject in the email, no spam detected, you're not using any esoteric vocabulary. This is commonplace. I think from their recommendations, from what I was reading, I think a middle school level reading comprehension tends to get the best results in terms of reply and responses. So again, cross-referencing your email with the parameters that they've outlined here is something that they do. And then they give an overall tone for the email. So they're saying unsure. These are, the other tones that they detect within the email as well. So depending on the intention of your email, you can cross-reference this as well. But the biggest thoughts here are twofold. Number one, this is dependent on their best practices and their standards. Not everyone has the same best practices and the same standards. I think writing and communication is more of an art rather than a science and a checklist. So take any of these recommendations and areas of opportunity with a grain of salt. This is not gospel. This is not, set in stone. Obviously, take all these with a grain of salt. That's number one. Number two, I don't think this concept is brand new either. If you've ever dabbled in SEO, or if you've created a brand new WordPress website that you want to optimize for SEO, there's a lot of SEO plugins that are very similar in terms of structure and format. They say, hey, you don't have your keyword in here a certain number of times. Your email structure or your sentence structure isn't SEO friendly. Your paragraph structure isn't SEO friendly. So very similar to this panel, it'll read your article that you're writing and then provide suggestions and recommendations. So I don't find this to be too groundbreaking and revolutionary. Perhaps if you've never done SEO, it might be. But again, I do want to call out that this perhaps isn't the newest and, the most exciting concept that I've ever seen. So, with that said, let's go to the third and final use case. Before I do that, the last two panels here, you can add in GIFs, and you can also see how the email looks on mobile, which is cool because I think often when we're crafting emails on desktop, they can tend to be wordy, they can tend to be lengthy, but it's important to keep in mind that the end recipient is probably looking at this on their mobile device. So you just want to do a gut check of how your email is showing up to them, and you can toggle between night mode, even take a look at a smartwatch such as an Apple Watch or something like that. So with that said, let's look at the last and final use case, which is an email that I've written, and that is right here. So nothing groundbreaking, nothing revolutionary, two sentences. Hi, John. Wanted to follow up on my last email. Do you have time to meet this week? So I'll tell you why I chose such a simple email to potentially proofread. And that's because an email like this is getting a 91, right? It's getting a 91. It's the highest or one of the highest emails that I've seen. It hits on a lot of their best practices and is detected as happy. So the reason I want to showcase this email is to highlight the pitfalls of a tool like this. When you use a checklist based approach, when you use kind of a best practices based approach, it tends to have pitfalls because, technically this hits on all the best practices, but would I necessarily call this a good email or a bad email? Not necessarily. It's just a neutral email. It's just two sentences. But that's the challenges with having these arbitrary email standards, right? There's a lot of emails that may not be good emails that could meet, these best practices and these standards. There could be a lot of good emails that have, nuance and different intentions to them that don't meet these best practices and could potentially have a poor score. So I just want to reinforce the fact that take these standards with a grain of salt. The score, these, areas of improvement or, parameters that you're doing well on, they're not set in stone. They're not gospel. Use it for inspiration, use it for a gut check, but you don't need to follow all of them to a T. And last but not least, take a look at this interpretation, interpreted as happy and friendly. I'm not sure what about this screams happy or friendly. I would say it's a pretty neutral tone. Wanted to follow up with my last email. Do you have time to meet this week? So again, when it comes to AI writing tools or just even sentiment analysis, I don't know if this is potentially an accurate representation of the tone of the email. So with that said, my final verdict here, final takeaways. Number one, take all these standards with a grain of salt. What I think Lavender can really do well in or well at is, in my experience working in sales and in my sales career, I have seen a lot of folks who are great communicators verbally, but struggle to put pen to paper or transcribe their thoughts in the format of an email. So I do think Lavender.ai has a use case there in terms of taking the worst writers or poor writers and helping improve their effectiveness a standard deviation or two to at least make them average writers. At least make them average. This will take something like the worst of the worst writers and help them become average. Or maybe even average writers and help them become good. I don't know if it will happen in every case, but I do or I can see some cases where average writers are becoming semi good or decent writers as a result of Lavender.ai. Where I do think this kind of falls short is taking good writers and helping them become great, or great writers and helping them become even greater. Because, as I said, I think email writing and communication is more of an art rather than a science. You can feed in as much information as you want to the back end of Lavender, but it doesn't take into account intent. It doesn't fully take into account the personalities and the nuances and the previous communication styles between you and the customer. That's not just a limitation of Lavender.ai, but AI writing or AI content tools in general. So that's where I do think it falls short. You can obviously, like I said 100 times, use the standards that they're prescribing to you as inspiration, but don't use it as, the fundamental truth and the source of truth for using your email. So if you have an organization where you're struggling to see any sort of results in terms of email outreach, you have a hunch or a suspicion that you may not have the most technically proficient writers, use something like Lavender.ai. But if you have a decently well-oiled machine and are hoping to take it to the next step, I don't know if Lavender is the best fit for you. But hope this does a good job of kind of walking through the ins and outs of Lavender. But these are my 2 cents from SalePeer. As I get more information, I'll come back and update this. But this is my review for today, and I hope it helped.